I'm Arjun from Xperian, and I'm a product designer. So, yeah, internet's been flaky for the past few live streams, but I've got things set up today. So, thank you so much for joining me. If you're joining me live and spending with your time with me. So, as part of the new launches that we're trying to do in Xperian, I've been working on the Xperian website where it's all about bringing together the initiatives, the products and services that we've been doing, and it's a much better way to go ahead and look through what we've been working on. So to put it very simply, Experian, if you're a maker, Experian, we care a lot about you. So in that sense, we've been working on quite a few things in terms of education and trying to get the product services and all of these things going on, as well as the community that we have. So this is all for us. If you're a self-taught designer or if you're a product manager or whatever type of maker you are, so we are trying to bring all the important content and knowledge and wisdom in one place so that we are able to grow faster and better. So that's what it is about. So I've been working on the website for past couple of days. So let me go ahead and share my screen on what the progress is about. So the idea is about putting all of this together in Webflow. So trying to push it live from the design to the Webflow. And along the way, I wanted to share a couple of my workflows and the tips, tricks, and techniques. So if you may understand some of the things you may want to use in your workflow. So yeah, let's go ahead and flow and see what's cooking behind the scenes. All right. So if you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, so put them in the chat box right next to this video. And every few minutes, I'm going to take a pause and look through all the comments and thoughts, and we can have a bit of a chat. So sit back, relax, have a cup of coffee or whatever rolls with you, and we are going to see how to push some of the things into Webflow, build some of the components in Webflow. So here I have my screen with the design file that I have as a reference, which I've put together, and this is something that I've been trying to put in Webflow. So in the past two streams that I've done, so I've come this far where I've put together the introductory section where it kind of brings together all the brands and initiatives that we have, the sub brands, and along the way, some of the clientele, some of the people we've been working on for so many years so far, and some of the offerings that we are trying to bring, and which is also trying to introduce the things that we are working on along the way, trying to put together the initiatives that are already there, the products and services that are there. So here's where we are. And in the last stream, I've been building this particular section of offerings, and we have a toggle button, a title, and a couple of cards. And these cards are also the variants that we have. So let's go ahead and proceed with where we are. So here are all the cards. In the last stream, I've been trying to build this one particular card with not much of a visual structure as it is looking now. So the improvements that I've done for this thing is, so earlier I just had a button medium, and this medium-sized button is something that I've added a lot of properties to, visual properties, but I've tried to modularize that now. And right now I can just go ahead and have a button. And for this medium-sized button, I can go ahead and have either a dashed line or a green color or a purple color, depending on what is that initiative belonging to. So this is the kind of brand association that I'm trying to bring through the buttons. So here I have the dash line, but I can also, it's the same button for the other cards, where but with the combination class and the global class that I've been building. So to put it very simply, your base class is your element class on a basic level where all the visual properties are there. But your global class means you create a class in such a way that you want to use those properties over and over again for different various types of elements on your website. So if with these two things, it makes it easy to build things in Webflow. So yeah, so here I am. I have the community related cards here, and I have a bit of a see more courses. So what I'm gonna do now is try to build this a little bit more, and then we can proceed to the next section. So here I want to have, if you really see, this is kind of like a masonry grid that we have. So things are flowing a certain way, things are set up a certain way in terms of the layout. So the idea is this particular group of cards and this particular group of cards, they are starting at a different vertical position, and that's what I want to kind of mimic here as well. So for that, it's a bit easy to do this because I have the same class going on as a container for this and this. So let me go ahead and add a combination class, but a combination class for this particular thing. So probably I'll say offset bottom. So this combination combo class is going to be only working for this particular base class because I don't want to use this offset for any other elements on my website. So this is specifically to this particular grid of items. So here, because I've added an offset, I can go ahead and probably push this down a bit. Let us say 120 pixel. There are many ways to go ahead and do this, and this is just the quicker way that I can do. The perfection, the details, and all of that can come later. And of course, I have a little bit of interactions and all of that planned along the way. But yeah, right now I'm not worried about them. So 100 and probably 140 is something that I can keep. That is same. So if I go ahead and add this combo class, which is available for me for the same class that I have, I can go ahead and offset bottom. But right now I want this to be offset to the top instead of the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another offset top, and there I'm gonna use this positioning. The idea of using positioning is also because I don't want to use the spacing here. I can as well use a margin, but what positioning will do is it will keep that entire group intact, but still try to push it downward. So that's what I'm trying to do. So 140. So let me not do that here. I want to push it upward. So 140 from the bottom, and the idea is to make sure that this comes to around 80 pixel. So that would be around 280 or 320, 300 probably. That gives enough space. So there we go. Things are much better. They're flowing all is well. So if you really look at the structure of this particular thing, I have an offerings container here, which is a grid of all of these group of items. But then the group itself is also a grid because it's easy for me to control adding more cards and removing cards and things like that. It's much easier with a grid. So I've chosen a grid to do that. I can as well use a flex box, but it's going to I have to go ahead and add more margins and things like that, which is not so easy to control. So that's why I've chosen the grid. So now I have this one. So this is something that I have to add now. Let me go ahead and quickly put that together. So I have this card. I'm just going to select the parent element and go for a div block and probably choose a text link. So I'm going to call this as, did I do this earlier? Let me go ahead and check. I don't know what's up with Webflow. Some of the time, it kind of gives this jittery scroll when I'm scrolling in the designer view. So I don't know why that happens. Oops. So if you have any questions again, just put them down in the chat. And after a while, I'm gonna look into it and we can have a bit of a chat. So now I'm just gonna call this as a link. Looks like I do have a link. Let me check where I have added that part. I haven't added anywhere here. Ah, I think this is the one that I've added. So what I'm going to do is, because this is a different kind of a link from the one that's there on the navigation on the top. So I'm going to call this as link default. I'm going to go back here and change this class name to link nav. So that just, it's much easier for me to choose between the link default link and the navigation link. So the properties here are, I have second text, medium. So this is supposed to be medium and supposed to be italic as well. And of course it has a color to it, which I can give. So this color is something that I can give. So because I have a global class added from the previous live streams, if you want to go ahead and check out how I have built this structure absolutely from the ground up, you can go ahead and see all the global classes and the base classes that I'm trying to set up. It's much more easier to look into the previous live streams to understand that. But even otherwise, the idea is to have the global class here, and so I'm going to add a custom property which is really getting the opacity in place. I can actually give a color, so I'm not really worried about getting the accessibility and all of that, absolutely particular right now. Those are all the things that I would do as part of the polish and refinement related things. But right now, the idea is to get the structure and the visual structure as quickly as possible. And refinements can always be done later. It's going to have a significant effect on the workflow if we approach it in a progressive manner like this. See more courses. Actually, I can just copy paste. Why am I even typing? It's absurd. All right, there we go. So we have this, and what else? What else do I want to have? I also want to add a border to this. So I can go ahead and add this particular border, and this is supposed to be 2 pixels. That's what I see here. So let me put that in, and it's also having a certain opacity right now. And just to make sure that this, I know I'm adding a lot of these properties on top of this. This is not the right way to do it, because I'm adding a lot of additional visual properties to this particular. Um, After I have added this combo class, probably I will segregate that later. But right now, I just want to get there very quickly. So I'm going to add a little bit of margin here, um, or probably padding. Mm, that's a lot. That should that should probably work. And then I'm going to set this layout right now. This particular card grid, which is here, is having a certain kind of a layout. So I'm going to set this to left. So what that's going to do is any element that is under this group, it's going to constrain every element to its own boundaries. So it's not going to extend or expand, because that's what the property was earlier, where it can stretch depending on the space that's available. But I don't want it to stretch. I want it to be top line and left line, all of these things that are here. That's much better that way. So we have a wonderful link going on here, which I can link up later. And now the idea is to just have more of this. So probably I can probably the text is supposed to change here. All of that can be done later. So I just have to add the product section. So let me go ahead and add that. So I've added it, but it kind of added it to this particular place, which I want to change it here, right? I'm kind of manually positioning all of these things because I want them to appear in a specific place. So this is column 2. Definitely I want it in column 2, but row 3 probably. So oh no, I think I've done that on the actual one. So I think that's where it added it. So let me check just quickly. There we go. I think that's where it's added. So yeah, by default it just keeps adding to the first column, first row. So I'm going to change this to column 2 and row 3. There we go. There we go. That's so 1, 2. Probably this is row 2 that I want to add it to. Yeah, but kind of move it down. Move it down a little bit more. So I'm not going to bother about how this is going to work out right now, but let me go ahead and put the information quickly. Products. All right, let me take the content from here. So I've noticed this, that in particularly in Firefox, and when I'm using Webflow, it doesn't just replace the content that I've selected. I have to delete the content and then paste it. Otherwise, it's just appending to the to the content that I already have. So if I just go select and paste it, it just happens. I don't know why that this happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this and then paste it. Works now. And it looks like that the line height for this thing is not set. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go to the base class, and I'm going to increase the line height to 140. So that should make it much more readable. And of course it's blue, and of course it's having a margin. There we go. And I have this content now. Delete, paste. Now this is another variant of a button. I'm going to show you how to create this one. So here I have a button. Instead of color green, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a BG color gray. All right. So now I'm going to add a background. So what do I have here? Let me select this one. I'm going to change this angle to 24, which I usually give, and move this particular one to 75, because I want that color to be there in the button more. So there we go. Another variant of a button. So that's going to help a lot. We can even set this to transparent. So if there's another color that's there, it's not going to show through in the background, even accidentally. And I don't have another card here, so I can go ahead and delete it. So this is the beauty of having a grid structure, so you don't have to worry about it. You can just add, delete, modify very easily. See more products, yes. Now that's done, and I'm going to add the last group of items, which is the podcast that we've been doing. And there we go. I'm just going to copy this and paste it. So of course it has pasted on top. So I'm going to the column is the same, but I'm going to probably move it to the third row, if I'm not wrong. 1 and 2 and 3. Yes, that's right. So let me just quickly put the information here. This is annoying, isn't it? I don't know if how many of you have experienced it. Anyway, my usual workflow is also not really work on Firefox. My browser of choice is Safari. I use Safari 99% of the time. So, but Safari doesn't support a couple of things as much as Chromium engine supports. So for that, for Restream to capture my camera properly, I've kind of shifted to Firefox for this. So that's the story. But I've noticed there are some couple of issues in Firefox as well. All right. So this this has a yellow button. So I'm going to choose. Oh, I have not added yellow. So let's go ahead and add it. E.g. Oh, there we go. We have it. So I don't know. I think I kind of messed up some of the names here. So I think it's supposed to be BG gradient yellow. There we go. There we go. I think it's coming right from here. But okay. So this is a dash line. This is, I have to name it gradient green. It's not just a spot color, isn't it? It's a gradient, so it's easier to recognize if you name it appropriately. And this is supposed to be BG gradient gray. All right, so here we are. Ah, please. Okay, there we go. And I'm still amazed at the power of these tools. It's just sometimes it becomes as easy as if you're a designer and if you've been using design tools, it becomes as good as using a design tool, these no-code tools, because they are designed so well. So it's powerful. It's very powerful. So adding a card just like that, just copy paste. I can as well convert these things into symbols in Webflow, which is probably, yeah, we do have time. I'm gonna show you how to use the power of symbols as well. Let's do that. So I actually can do the symbol. I should have done it much earlier. That's okay. Because with the symbols, you don't have to add copies of things and worry about the some of the unintended motions happening in some of the components and things like that, but also have the structure and all of that available to you. So it's a reusable component, right? So in that sense, so this is blue. So blue we don't have. So I'm going to add a new one. All right. So let me go check the values quickly. This is official brand blue that I have, blue gradient, and let's go ahead and add it. So if you have been noticing, there's this nice little keyboard keys that it shows whenever I'm pressing any keys, so that you are able to see. In the last stream, I've been telling you that it's one of my favorite little tool, especially when I'm sharing something with somebody or recording my screen and explaining something. What happens is, so it's called it's called Keystroke Pro. So you can just go ahead and type it in Google, Keystroke Pro. So this is by one of the developer out there. Very well done. It's a simple product that's done well. So it just has a lot of customizations around, you know, how you can how you can go ahead and control the visual appearance, where do you want it on the display, kind of things. So anyway, back to the thing. So this is working. So we have this podcast going as well, where we try to share our experiences and learnings and perspectives and insights from building Xperian. A vision like that is not really easy to do. Um, it's but still we have picked it up because we've dedicated ourselves to this particular cause. So yeah, go ahead, listen to the podcast, and just type in Xperian if you're on Spotify or all the podcast platforms. You'll get it. So now we are through this particular thing, and we are moving on to the next section. This is interesting because this is kind of like this particular section that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a div as usual. So push this div into the place from the structural point of view, and so try to bring this one into place. So for that, I have this one already, which is the group title offerings. So I'm going to bring this here, but I don't want this toggle related things. Chuck that. I want this to come through. And I have a little bit of a text here, kind of a caption text kind of a thing. So I do have a caption text that I have added here. Yeah. So this is more like a caption that's centered. So probably I should give that specification. And I'm going to copy this and paste it here. So one important thing about building, whether you're designing or developing, is try and not recreate the components as much as you can. But if you have something to build off of, it's always good to go that way. So okay, but I know that the type size is different, so it's 2032. That's what I'm going to do. But to do that, I'm going to build off of this. So this is, let me say this is caption small and it's centered, but I want to build off of this and duplicate the class and call it as caption uh, regular. And it's also centered, isn't it? There we go. Now I can go ahead and modify it to 20. And generally, all the combo classes that you have added to the previous class that you have duplicated are all available for me. So that's the best part of building off of things. So you don't have to go ahead and add all these combo classes again. So that makes sense. And have a bit of a bottom margin. So I've given, I'm too lazy, so I'm just going to use the existing values. I know it's different in the design that I have, but it's also like when you're building in Webflow, you can standardize a lot of these things. So just give me a second. Oh, it looks like the Webflow. It looks like the Webflow screen is tiny. Can we also? Satish has a question. Satish, can we create gradients for outlines? I don't think so. I don't think it's that easy. I don't think Webflow has outline gradients, but there's a workaround. That's possible. Probably I'll just share it with you, Satish. Uh, yeah. So let me go ahead and reshare just the Webflow screen. That way, it's much easier for you to go ahead and see. Because I'm also switching between different files. I didn't want to showcase only the Webflow screen. But yeah, if it's very small, I think you will be able to see it much better now. All right. So here we are trying to make this, and we have this particular emblem. So this is a very interesting one that I've made very recently. So again, so I'm going to choose web assets, and this is a new section, isn't it? So it's so fourth is offerings. Offerings doesn't have any assets, right? But this is fifth. So this is Xperian. So I'm going to call this as graphic Xperian emblem. There we go. And this one is set in such a way that here I have a singular one. So I can go ahead and so this div block I just can call it as Y Xperian, because I can even use the same container for all of these things, but I know that I may have to add a little bit of background, and there's a bit of a customization that's involved in all these containers. So I'm that's why I'm not using the same class container for all of these big section containers that I have. So now I can go ahead and add an image, and this image I can just go ahead and choose this, upload. There we go. Let that upload. I don't know why the upload is taking so long. Let me just check with this emblem a bit. Again, usually I wouldn't do this, so probably I'll just draw a slice of this one, and I would give this a name here, graphic Xperian emblem, and and go ahead and paste it inside this and just export root contents only, and just set this to SVG and export this. Oh yeah, it has it has put it in place, so that's good. I thought there's something wrong with the asset, so I've been trying to export it properly. So now I have this one. I can go ahead and, so this is the beauty of it, right? I can go ahead and tweak the layout of this. So definitely this is a flexbox because I want them to be stacked in a singular dimension manner. And this is a graphic. For now, I'm going to, oh, so it's just using the available amount of space. So let me first set this one. There we go. Bam! That's exactly what we want here. So, because what it has done is when I use a flexbox and say that the things inside that container shouldn't stretch and they have to be just aligned to the center, that's where it's not going to use that opportunity to stretch. That's what I want. So, next section is about these two things, and again, it's much easier to manage these simple things with grids rather than flexbox. I can do a flexbox, but I'm also, as I do project after project, I've also realized that when there's a power and when there's a context that matches to use that power, it's best to go with it rather than think too much about it. So anyway, so here it said another div, and within this div, it's actually a group. I'm just going to name it quickly. And within this group, I have, so this group is a grid. And I only want one row, but I want two columns. And within this column, we exit the grid editing mode and then just take another div, which is going to put it in the first column, just like how I need it. So I'm just trying to put these two things together. So for this, I have a paragraph and I have a link, which is something like this. So I've copy pasted the link, I have the paragraph now, and this para is more like a P1, which I've already done for the cards that I've built here. Sorry, for the introductory section, sorry. So this is something that I've done, and the beauty of this is, again, this is the beauty, because I've added a text color white, but here now I'm going to add text color dark blue, because that's what I have here. Oh, it's green. Should have given this in the design to match the background. So what I'm going to do is, instead of, I'm going to set a global class. So here's me creating a global class quickly. So I add a global class on a div so that I don't mess up easily. This is just my workflow. You can just add a global class any other way, but it's much simpler this way. So here I'm going to add a text color. I'm going to build on this, right? So I have dark blue, but I want to duplicate it and make it into a dark green. So here I can set, I've already copied the color. So I'll just paste the color and it has become a dark green. So I can go ahead and add this color. So it just shows up here, the things that I've not used, the global combo classes that are there. So dark green I can add, and I do have a certain amount of opacity for that. So I can add the opacity right here as just a unique thing that's done only for this combination of add it as a part of, okay, with P1 left and dark green color, I'm going to associate the opacity here for this particular instance. That's how Webflow works. So I'm going to add a margin. So I can clean all of this later. Again, the idea is not to become too particular, but to build it quickly. So margin bottom 32. I can go ahead and copy this content. Uh, so here we go. But again, these things are of certain nature where, so we have it capped to 320 pixel. So I'm going to apply that for now. And for this, so the idea here is to have some of the images coming and floating around, so which is very dynamic it's supposed to be. But I've not focused much on the interactions here. Probably I'll just finish up this design as well, where I put the actual images. The content for this, I don't have it available right now, but I can go ahead and use these as placeholders. And for that, you know what I'm gonna do. If you know the workflow that I've been following so far, what I'm going to do is I just can take this card, because visually it's the same structure that I have. If there's too much of, if there's more of customization that I have, I can go ahead and add those customizations and probably even change this to card image, right? So I'm going to build off of this. Let me do that. Otherwise, I know I will get into trouble later. When I'm trying to change the properties, it changes everywhere. I don't want that. So, card image. Again, I can have a background color of white. And again, so there is a size specification that I've given, which is 360 pixel, which I can put this under a minimum width instead of a maximum width. And let me also I should have given more correct spacing in the design file, but that's okay. I'm just going to control it here. So the column 120, I don't have any rows, so I'm just gonna keep that nil. And so the idea is to have these images as offset images. So for this, what I can do is take another div block here and push this card inside, and let me give these names. It's always good to go ahead and keep naming, because you yourself will not be confused when you're building. So this is a, so for simple groups I just use the group grp kind of a naming, so it just shows me what kind of a container that I want, things like that. So now this is a very specific group actually, which is I've already done a group of Xperian, so let me do this. group. Two for now. I don't want to spend too much time thinking about it. I can go ahead and change the names anyway. So as long as they are identifiable. Uh, Cards. I can call this intro. There we go. And I can go ahead and copy paste another card here. And what I can do here now is I can have this position set to, so let me go ahead and do this. So this one I'm going to give it a relative positioning. That way, if I give a absolute positioning here, it's going to position according to Y Xperian cards. So this group that I have here. So I can position it in a particular place. Okay. It may not be recognizing this part. So this doesn't have a width, right? So let me go ahead and give a width of 100%. Okay, that's not working. Let me be very specific. All right. I can go ahead and tweak all of these properties later. So I can call it as card image 1 and this one as another class, but because I do have a different position for this, so I'm going to use a different class for this, and probably I'm going to position it like this. Bit of an overlap there, right? So I can go ahead and use the Z index to control that. So this is supposed to be 0. Okay. It's not supposed to show up this way, so let me go ahead and put 10 for now. Not working. So I think well, that's because I have to give a Z index here as well. Okay, I'm not very particular about getting these right now. We can deal with it later. So, and the minimum height of 200 and 240, let me round that up. And 240. But this goes, the position of it is way more than that. Somewhere there. So I'm going to round it as 40 and this one is 48 for now, just so that I also have a space around the edge. So there we go. We have this, and I have to add a background to this. The way I'm going to add the background for this is I'm going to copy and paste this background and change this, build on this background actually, and say Y Xperian. And for this background, the position is, I can take, let us say 1200. Again, this is not, I'm not trying to do things right all the time. I'm trying to get things working quickly. So probably this is still in the offering section. We have 5,000 pixels right now. There we go. It's kind of coming there. This is crazy. Mm, 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 mm. So it's somewhere between that. So I'm going to go ahead and approximate that way. Six 400. There we go. There we go. It's kind of coming across. So this is good, and I'm going to quickly change the border to all borders and give this as a 50 viewport. There we go. Now all I need to change now is the gradient. This particular gradient that I have. So I can copy and copy it. There we go. Bam. All right. So we have a little bit of a section here, which I can proceed, but again, I think this entire section has to come forward. Oh yeah, I have not added the card colors. There we go. There we go. Nice. Nice and easy. So again, the color is something that I can control. The saturation, all these nitty-gritties I can go ahead and add. So yeah, so here's what I wanted to show for today. I think we will go ahead and see the symbols and how they work in the next stream, which I'm going to do tomorrow. So let's go ahead and continue learning. Hi, Mohammed. I don't know if you are still here, but hi. So if you have any questions, thoughts, let me know. Put it in the chat window next, right here, and probably I can take one or two questions or chat a bit before we sign off for the day. What would you say? But it's coming across well. So far, so good. Oh, this this jagginess that I don't like it in Webflow. I don't know why it does that. When do you get to responsiveness? Getting the visual structure right is the most important part. If you get the visual structure right, your responsiveness is half done, especially in Webflow. So responsiveness is always a secondary aspect. Getting the visual structure right is the most important, because if you get the visual structure, if you get the right container, if you get the um, uh, right technology to use, whether it is Flexbox or Grid, then your responsiveness is half done. The only thing you may have to do is just tweak the values that are appropriate for that particular resolution. If you're moving from, let us say, tablet, desktop, higher resolutions, things like that. So you really see, if I'm switching between these higher, the base resolution to the higher resolutions, you will see that automatically a lot of things are getting you know adapted automatically. Just nice, just nice and beautiful. So let me go ahead and publish this. I don't like this jankiness right here. So let me, so far whatever's done, let me publish these changes, and let's scroll nicely and see it. So let that do its job. But if you can see, it kind of nicely scales between the resolutions. If you have a more complex design and layout going on, still you can get a lot of this, half the things that are there working well. So if you don't get the visual structure right, what happens is you may have to add a lot of a lot of unnecessary properties and additional values to just move into that thing where you could have solved that when you are building it for the first time. So a lot of things can be simpler that way. So I'll also be bringing probably some of the Webflow workshops in the coming months. I'm not really sure about the time, but I can share a lot of these absolute fundamentals. We've already done the Webflow workshop earlier, so a lot of people have benefited. So I'm really, really happy about that. So yeah, that's what's about responsiveness. That's when responsiveness comes. So probably I'll do the responsiveness for Xperian as one of the streams, particularly, and probably it will happen weekend. Don't know. Any other questions, thoughts, ideas? I hope your Monday evening is going well. If you're live, thank you so much again for joining me. But so here are some things that I wanted you to know, which is you can go ahead and follow me. So that's my handle right there on the screen. And if you want to go ahead and discuss more of these Webflow related things, if you have questions, if you are starting up or even a professional, you want to share some of these things and discuss basically all the aspects around no code and more, and we do have a community. You can come and join in, and I'm also part of that community. I'm a fellow maker along with you, so I'm also discussing a couple of my wins, my failures, my journey, understanding about no code design, and pretty much, yeah, those things. So go ahead, join that community, and let's go ahead and discuss more stuff there. And yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining in, and I'll catch you on the next stream tomorrow. And let's see where this goes. I'm happy to share all my workflows with you. Thank you so much for joining. You have a really, really good day. Bye bye.